Going back to the question of Trump and immigration, I want to show Trump's immigration czar, Tommy Homan.
I want to go back to who you're deporting. Aside from the long list of executive actions, the administration said it will no longer tell ICE agents they have to avoid sensitive locations, including schools, hospitals, churches. Benjamin Huffman, the acting Homeland Security Secretary, said in a statement, criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. What criminals are hiding in schools?
Look,
middle schools, elementary schools. You going to go into those?
How many MS-13 members are the age of 14 to 17? Many of them. So, look, if it's a national security threat, public safety threat, and what you need to understand is a case by case. Name another agency, another law enforcement agency that has those type of requirements that they can't walk into a school or a doctor's office or on a medical campus. No other agencies held to those standards. These are well-trained officers with a lot of discretion, and when it comes to sensitive location, there's still going to be supervisory review. So it's not like it's an open issue, but ICE officers should have discretion to decide if a national security threat or a public safety threat's in one of these facilities, then there should be an option for them to make the arrest.
But someday you could go into those schools and grab people who are just in the country illegally.
On a case-by-case basis, depending who they are, what the circumstances are.
But opening up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that... Kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering a country illegally.
And I want to show this clip that's been making the rounds of Dr. Phil talking to the czar about what they're doing.
Forget the false narrative of sweeping neighborhoods looking for people different color than us. Forget that hogwash and look at what we actually did. We're proving it to them. How can you argue with the system we've set up?
Well, straight up, are you going into schools and arresting children at schools?
No.
Is anything like that happening?
No, sir.
Are you going into businesses and sweeping through there and taking anybody with a tan and seeing where they're from?
We go into businesses for a criminal enforcement operation, but again, sweeps don't occur anywhere.
The sweeps are not occurring. You're just not going in like seining for fish in a pond and just picking up. You're going targeted. If a criminal is working in a business and you have to pick them up there, you're going in for that target.
Absolutely.
And what's happening to me, it seems that these politicians are creating what they fear the most, and that is forcing ICE agents into the community where they pick up the target and wind up picking up collaterals that may be around them, as opposed to going to the jail where they just get the target and leave.
That's the game they want to play, and so, game on. We're going to do it. I mean, it's all about public safety. We're going to take that public safety threat off the street by any means necessary. If we can't get in the jail, then we'll go in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and Chris, look, we've got two very high-risk apprehensions that are going down within minutes. I can tell you that these are bad actors that are doing things that are immediate, instant danger to anyone around them. I'm not going to say what they are right now, because even describing it could be tipping off who we're talking about. And if they happen to be watching this, or somebody they know is watching this, could pick up the phone and call them and put agents' lives in more danger than they already are.
That's right.
That's why we're being very careful. That's why we're asking all of you in the control room to process these videos and blur the faces of the brave men and women that are doing what they're doing, because we don't want them harassed and targeted after the fact. And that has and does happen. So we're being very careful to protect everybody out there. But just know,
this narrative that they're out sweeping and picking up people indiscriminately is absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. These are a lot of investigation happening. They're targeting individuals that have criminal histories and are a danger to the community. And they're making communities safer when they take them off the street.
Want to know your response to that. Also, I did notice that you responded to that tweet. Yeah, time to dust off copy of Robert J. Lifton's Nazi Doctors, Medical Killing and the Psychology of Genocide. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, he's like Baghdad Bob, he sounds like. I mean, it's like such propaganda, and it's so ham-handed. I mean, how many times can you repeat that these are just sweeps? These are just sweeps. So what are they doing then? Is ICE saying that it has a list of names of people that they're specifically looking for? Then, I find that hard to believe. But that clip, but just getting back to that clip, just the whole thing is just so gross, and it's just such a gross display of propaganda, and it's so ham-handed, and it's like, a reality TV star or whatever he is. I mean, is he a real doctor?
Someone should tell us and put in the notes.
My understanding is he was at one point a practicing psychologist in Texas, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, but not an MD.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's just all a spectacle. It's all spectacle. It's like the military planes, the cargo planes, the shackles on the hands and the feet. Again, Biden, Obama, they deported more people. Obama definitely deported more people than Trump did in his first term. Biden, I think there were some years that were up and down. But it's the turning it into a spectacle, which is which is the qualitatively different, thing. And I say use the word qualitative because it is. I think it is it is different. It's a different level of imperial subjectivity. There's a level of cruelty there that I think is specific to a kind of unraveling of the nation's psyche of an imperial power. This was in some ways the argument of end of the myth. It's what happens when expansion and the promise of limitlessness is no longer an option, when politicians can't use the promise of limitlessness to organize domestic politics. The extremism turns inward. But also the cruelty, I think, is a kind of cruelty that is uniquely of the United States. I think it has to do with United States alone among other liberal nations never socialized its liberalism. It held on like a fetish to the idea of freedom is freedom from restraint. And that's an idea that you can only maintain as long as the frontier is open. And once it's not, then freedom is freedom from restraint becomes manifest as no one's gonna stop me from being cruel. No one is gonna stop me. No one is gonna make me care. Nobody's gonna make me be empathetic. There's a degree of inhumanity at play here that I find terrifying. I mean, I think there's a psychologist who talks about the slow creation of humanity, how long it took over centuries to come up with the idea of equality, and that all people were equal. Obviously, that not everybody believed that, but in some ways there's a kind of the slow or the fast destruction of humanity is I think at play here, and that's what I find very disturbing about Trump.